Greetings to you, sir. To the people of listening to this talk, we have a Dr. Praveen Jacob today with us. As you all know, he's a very eminent naturopathy doctor in our field. He's given so much of talks, and to be honest, like there are some ardent followers of Dr. Praveen from my classmates. So I can't put into words how much effective speaker he is. And for a short introduction, let me tell you, Dr. Praveen is a consultant at Veda Wellness Center and is an adjunct professor at NITT University, Mangalore. And I think he has given some phenomenal talks. Some of it is, my favorites are the thin outside, fat inside, the Indian paradox, and the recent one which you gave in the International Conference of Holistic Wellness conducted by Sant Siddharam College. So I've been to both of them, and I had a few questions to ask you because it was really inspiring. I wanted to know what was it behind to what was it to live the journey. So I wanted to ask those questions to you, sir.
Yeah, this is fantastic questions. And in fact, I got into naturopathy course in 1997. One of my close friends suggested me there is some course called as naturopathy and logic science. Not even I was aware that it is naturopathy and yogic science. Yeah. So I got into naturopathy course and I never had any passion because I've seen lots of patients getting admitted in our hospital, FDM hospital, Ujire, which was about 300 to 400 bedded capacity hospital. And unfortunately, most of the patients were obese patients. They get admit, undergo fasting therapy for 10 days, and in a span of 1 month, they regain the weight what they lost. So there is no enthusiasm, there is no passion to treat these obese cases. So literally, I lost interest to naturopathy field, and my parents migrated to United States in 2000. I was the one left out, including my two siblings. They all got visa to US, permanent visa. They migrated to United States. I was into second year when they got the visa to US. So I pursued my naturopathy. I completed in 2003 and I stopped practicing. I became a planter. I brought land in Mangalore, very close to my college. I started cultivating rubber trees. And in 2007, I migrated to United States. No experience at all with the naturopathy. But my family, mainly from my paternal side, my father had diabetes at very younger age, 28 years. He was the first non-diabetic patient in entire village. I feel very long ago he was diagnosed when he was running a hotel Omega, and he was diagnosed with the diabetes. My grandma, dad's mother, died at age of 49 from the complication of diabetes. My dad's 4 sisters developed diabetes at younger age. Dad's 2 sisters developed diabetes. And my grandma's 3 sisters died from complication of diabetes. So from my father's side, paternal side, we have inherited a strong history of diabetes. And I had the notion that diabetes is a genetic disease. Like my father has diabetes, grandma has diabetes, definitely I might get it in a sooner period. I feel around when I soon after reaching to US, my age was around 27 or 28. I underwent for testing before going to US, and I found that I am also diabetic patient. Yeah, so this was shocking news for me. I became really depressed, and though I never studied naturopathy very seriously, but I was a very good reader. In college days, I used to read all type of books, including philosophy, Vedas, Upanishads. I was an extremely good reader, but never had passion to naturopathy topics. That's what I never practiced as well. Because of my reading habits, I want to explore the real fact behind diabetes. And I got some of the books, and a study really helped me to resolve my crisis in a span of 6 months. A fantastic study from United States. The title of the study was the diabetic incidence in Pima Indian population. Pima Indian population. There is lots of tribals in United States, and this particular group of tribals are called as Pima Indians. In India today, the percentage of diabetic patients are 16% of Indian populations are known to have diabetes. Maybe out of 100, 16 Indians are suffering from diabetes. But this particular community, Pima Indian community in US, have highest rate of diabetic patient of all communities across the world. 75% of Pima Indians are suffering from diabetes. 75%. So then I found that this population, this Pima Indian tribals, about 100 years ago, they were living on the riverside of, there's a river called as Gilda River. They were living close to this river bank. Their main food was fish caught from river, Gilda River, and beans. This is a staple food of this population for hundreds of years, fish and beans. So 100 years ago, the American government built a dam on the upstream of this river. So there is no water left out to rear, no fish, no beans. So they migrated from that region to the cities, American cities, urban side of America, from the riverside to a migration to the city, where the diet was totally changed. They got the ration from American government, consists of dalda, maida, refined oil, sugar. A transition from fish, beans to dalda, maida, refined oil, and sugar. And they have free food card. They don't have to work. They have free food card, eating too much of junk foods like maida, dalda, and diabetic prevalence. They have highest percentage of diabetes. 75% of this population are known to have diabetes. But interestingly, one group, 100 years, they did not stay back in US. They migrated to Mexico, where they pursued the traditional food habits of their ancestors. The people who migrated to Mexico, they ate traditional food. They who stayed back in US ate sugar and sweets. And today, because the genes of these populations are same, exactly same in Mexico, and about 10 years ago, not 10 years ago, 20 years ago, American Diabetic Association conducted a study on the Pima Indian tribals living in United States and living in Mexico. They found that in Mexico, they have only 2% of diabetes. In the US, they have 75%. Their genes are same. Genes are same, but their dietary habits are totally different. So this made me the conviction that genes are not important factor, environmental factor are important. I'll give you one more example. Our genes are like bija, seeds. If you keep the rice seeds or wheat seeds inside a container, inside your house, does not have germination. If the same seeds, if you throw it to soil, once the seeds are exposed to sunlight and nourished by water and nutrients, the sprouts comes out. Our genes are like diabetic genes or cancer genes are exactly like the seeds of wheat or seeds of rice. If the seeds get like diabetic genes require so much calorie, so much nutrients to germinate. My father was eating 5 meals per day. My grandma was eating 5 meals per day. When I reduced the meals to 2 per day, my diabetes got disappeared. But I have same genes of my father. Same genes of my father I have inherited. That diabetes gene is sleeping inside my body. The moment I start eating 5 meals, again it will wake up. Got my point here. So then this study helped me to understand that genes are not important. Our food plate is important. So we inherit all disease from our plate, not from our genes. And I got this message that motivated me when I got recovered from diabetes by eating 2 food per day. Everyone suffered from diabetes. My father is on 25 medicines today. My dad's brothers, most of them are on heavy medications. And by age of 44, my father, I'm 43 years now. By my age, my father was taking insulin 3 times per day. If I would not have learned the magic power of eating less food, I would not be standing in front of you. Then I thought that it is my responsibility to proclaim the glorious healing power of eating less food, eating right food. I decided to come back from the US. I started propagating, never had interest to naturopathy until 2010. When I got recovered from my own diabetes by eating less food, low calorie diet, that motivated me. I came back to India and started conducting awareness program. My main problem, I will always tell, we should not be a doctor, we should be a guru. Guru to train the people to eat right type of food habits. We should be like a coach, So I'm propagating the theory or the, like the miraculous healing properties of eating less food and helping hundreds of people to recover from diabetes and metabolic syndrome. This is my short journey, how I got back into naturopathy field.
That's actually great to listen to it, that you had a breakthrough point and somehow it brought you back to live along with nature.
Yes.
And I'd want to ask you, how was it to live with diabetes and then find out that this is the cure, this should be the miraculous thing? And how was the journey of trying it all by yourself for the first time and then getting the faith? I know the process should have been a little difficult on a mental level, because you did have an evidence, but that was a personal experience that you had to undergo. So how was it? How was the process?
Pardon, I could not get you. Some disturbance came for
Okay.
sound. Can you repeat the question?
Can you walk us through how was your process of reverting to 2 meals a day, and how did you reverse your diabetes? What are the challenges did you face?
Yeah, definitely it was a very challenging for me. But when I started reading about the science behind fasting, I came across with the huge impact of eating low calorie diet on our genes and DNA, which motivated me really. The science motivated me to stick on to my dietary habit, 2 meals per day. But initially it was very challenging for me because in the US, we are midst of high calorie diet, very cheap. The food is very cheap. Like unlike in India, the minimum wages in US is $10. You do whatever the type of job in per hour, you get $10, and one big pizza cost only $2. The 1 hour you get 12 pieces of chicken legs, chicken drumstick leg pieces cost only $1. If you get into a KFC, you can place a big meal with one unlimited amount of Pepsi, cost less than $4. But you get minimum wages $10 per hour. So food is very cheap. The calorie you get, you are midst of calorie, and it was very challenging because stay away. But like the science behind fasting, when I started more about fasting, that motivated me. But once I stopped, like gradually, maybe in a span of 1 month, I got adopted to 2 meal diet per day. And even whenever I started eating excess food, I started getting acidity. Quickly I developed acidity. My body was adopting. Later, when my parents and all my cousins in during parties, they were eating like very delicious, tasty food, but I did not get any craving towards that. It took about 1 month to completely adopt to a low calorie diet, like 2 meals per day, which I am following till date.
And in some of the sessions that you had given in the YouTube, you were talking about the thin outside and fat inside, the Indian paradox. Yeah. And okay. I hope you didn't have much time to focus on recipes, and you were like, recipes is another session's topic, and you were talking about take 1 teacup of rice, take 5 amounts of vegetable, make a biryani out of it. And I was like, wow, can somebody even tell a recipe like so simple? It was like, wow, is it so? I did try it and it did come out very well. So I'm curious about some of your favorite recipes that you eat in daily.
Yeah, so I will tell my own, because I take a protein-rich diet for my breakfast. So it's very simple. I make for myself. One is I take 2 or 3 eggs. Very simple, like 2 or 3 eggs, smash it, and grate the cheese over it. And with a few nuts, like 5 to 10 almond or 5 to 10 cashews, and takes a cup of black coffee. This is my usual regular breakfast. Might be, it's very quite easy, like 5 to 10 minutes, one can prepare this recipe. And I do have some salad recipes, very simple salad recipes, like I mix all the, grated, I mix all type of vegetable. Plus the fat is very important. Like unlike if you eat only fruits and vegetables, which like the diet of our monkey, which is not sufficient for human being. We require more fat. No other mammals require as much fat as human being because we have a larger brain. So if you eat only fruits and vegetables, which will have impact on our IQ level. That's why I mix lots of good type of fat to my salads. One is grated coconut, and we can put lots of nuts, chopped nuts, or I take a cup of yogurt for breakfast. I will chop all nuts like cashew, almond, and rust pista into small pieces with dry fruits. Mix in yogurt and consume for it's a filling breakfast recipe. Just 2 minutes you can prepare. Likewise, there are lots of simple recipes. Dinner, I make sure that honestly, I take, though I'm a naturopathy doctor, I don't have any distinction that non-veg is bad or vegetable food is bad. I admire both type of diet. There are lots of good vegetarian diet. There is lots of good type of non-vegetarian diet as well. So my dinner is mostly rich in non-vegetarian food like chicken. I cook together. I am a good cook as well. So I take 2 or 3 kg chicken together. I will steam it. I make some delicious recipes and I keep in the refrigerator. So whenever I want, I can reheat and consume it with one big bowl of salads. This is my main diet I'm propagating now. And lunch, I take small quantity of rice. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So, having said that, I will surely try this option for sure. And
Okay.
can you walk us through your current works? What, like you talk about how important fat is, and you also talk about there's a village in the north of Karnataka where they totally consume ghee. And how like share to us about your discoveries about the indigenous health practices in Indian communities, and and your current activities now.
Okay, it's good question. Because 2015, 2016, the Karnataka government allotted to one NGO. I'm part of one NGO, Prithvi Charitable Trust and Nisarga Charitable Organization. Karnataka government allotted 5 days teaching training program. About 25 taluks in Karnataka had been allotted to our NGO. The government was paying 5 lakh rupees per program. So we have to stay in a particular taluk for 5 days and train 100 teachers regarding yoga and healthy food habits. That was the duty deputed to us. So we had been traveling the nook and corner of Karnataka. So one camp was conducted in North Karnataka called as Gulbarga, very close to, it's called as Hyderabad, Karnataka, located very close to Hyderabad. Gulbarga, the place was Gulbarga. Our camp was held in Gulbarga city. 100 teachers attended, and we had a sugar machine, and we had been monitoring the blood glucose of every teacher. 28% of teachers had diabetes. 28% of teachers in Gulbarga town had diabetes. Okay. So after 3 months, a taluk called Third Tegnur, I don't know exact Kannada pronunciation. Third Tegnur was another taluk, belongs to same Gulbarga district, but located 50 kilometers away from Gulbarga city in a rural side of, and very close to Maharashtra state. And we had 100 teachers. They speak same language. They belongs to same community. Like in Gulbarga, teachers were Lingayats. Even in this village, rural side, Third Tegnur, 100 teachers attended. They were belongs to same Lingayat community. The most surprising fact is that when we checked for diabetes, 0 diabetic cases. Same district in Gulbarga city, 28% of teachers were diabetic, but in 50 kilometers away, same Karnataka, same state, same language, same teachers, but diabetic cases were very big, 0. Really, I was astonished by this finding. Then I did a small dietary survey. I found that most of the teachers in city, they have access to bakery products. There are lots of bakery. Every 10 meters, you can find out one bakery in Gulbarga. They take lots of sweets, lots of white rice, sweets, refined oil. But in village side, the bakery consumption, not even a single bakery I could spot there. The sugar consumption was very low. Sweets, they consume only once in a month. And every meal, there is a type of natural, wild lettuce. Lettuce is the lettuce. There is a wild lettuce they can pluck from the field. Every field it has got called as Hattarki Sapu. Hattarki Sapu. I don't know exact Kannada. That Sapu was called as every meal they consume. After every meal they consume 2 or 3 leaves. Simply they will chew it. Hattarki Sapu. And lots of beans. Ghee. Ghee was consumed in huge amount. Every day they consume lots of ghee. Your big cup of degi, curd, a big cup of curd, rich in fat, lots of shinga chutney. Shinga means groundnut chutney, rich in fat. Okay, ghee, rich in fat. Groundnut, rich in fat. And beans. Beans is rich source of resistant starch. Not even a single case of diabetes. But in city, they don't have this sapu, this leaf. They don't consume fat, ghee. Instead of ghee, they are consuming refined oil, and they consume lots of sugar and sweets. But you see that, look at the difference in the prevalence of diabetes. So my clinical experience helped me to understand that it is not our gene. We get diabetes and metabolic syndrome only from our plate. If you change the plate, you get the cure.
That is actually great, sir. Can you tell us about your current work? What activities you are involved into right now?
Yeah, right now I'm part of one hospital called as Nisarga Naturopathy Hospital. In 2005, 15 or 14, the hospital was established by my classmate, Dr. Venkatamana Hegde. He was born and brought up in a village side of Karnataka, Uttara Kannada district. He did not have any money to initiate the naturopathy hospital. Somehow, he established a 10-bedded hospital in 2003. And he was propagating lots of awareness program. And gradually they shifted the premises to a new building. And they got some fund from Karnataka government as well. So they set up a 50-bedded naturopathy hospital in 2012. And later, myself and Dr. Hegde, when I came back from US, we combined together and started promoting education program. In 2015, we started an education program in a Kannada channel called as Praja TV. We had undertaken 400 episodes on health education program, which helps to attract lots of patients. Today, in a span of 3 years, from 10 bed it grown to 100-bedded hospital. And today is the day Karnataka government, very happy day for me, because very close to this city where I'm is Uttara Kannada district, might be around 60 kilometers away from our district. There is a adjacent district called as Haveri, and the Haveri district is known to, in a taluk called as Kakinile, which is the birthplace of a Kannada poet called as Kanagadas. Kannada poet Kanagadas. To mark the respect to Kanagadas, the Karnataka government allotted 250 crore rupees in 2011 when Siddaramaiah was the Chief Minister of Karnataka, and they constituted a committee called as Kakinilaya Development Authority. So they've developed a very big park, 40-acre park, and the museum for Kanagadas, and his asrama was established there. And the director of this project was an IAS officer, very close to me. He was passionate about naturopathy. So 15 crore rupees he allotted to establish a naturopathy hospital, middle of this 40-acre park. Very beautiful 100-bedded hospital they have established, attached with a helipad as well. So they decided that they no more wants to give it to Ayush department because they may not take it into a proper level. So they are planning to hand over that institute to me. So probably today is the day I'm going to, like all the legal procedure is going to get accomplished. So we'll have one more 100-bedded hospital attached with a 40-acre land. So I'm planning to convert this hospital into an autoimmune center, autoimmune disorder center.
That's lovely, sir. And we are glad that you're sharing this information with our team on your growth. We are very glad.
Yeah, this is, in fact, I was reluctant to take up this project because, even I am into, in addition to my hospital activities, I'm also established a company called as Alpha Natural Nutrition. In a span of 4 years, from one product, I have reached to 60 products now. It is growing very faster. I'm getting even order from Eastern European countries, Malaysia, Singapore, all the lots of countries outside also. There is a query for my product. Yeah. So this is a two region. One is hospital, one is my own company, Alpha Natural Nutrition.
Lovely, sir. It's great. We will surely put the link to your YouTube channel and all your wonderful sessions in the when this gets uploaded, we'll surely put that so that all students get to watch all your wonderful talks and they get inspired as much as I am.
Yeah.
On parting thoughts, I would like you to tell what message you have for BNYS students for their study period and to look for their career and their lifestyle. What message would you like to give them?
So see, there is a two message. Definitely, one is from their career. So, most of the metabolic syndrome like diabetes, heart disease, or cancer, obesity related PCOD, this all are mediated by excess calorie, and bad food habits, bad nutrition. So there is a huge demand in the food sector for naturopathy doctors. Being a businessman, and I do know that if you take the naturopathy industry, for example, let's see the turnover generated from naturopathy hospital. There are hardly 5 to 6 naturopathy hospitals which create good revenue, like Jindal or SDM. Might be some bigger hospital, and the job opportunities are really, really difficult. Very hardly few hospitals are located. Where to get the job for all these doctors? Number of colleges are proliferating. Even in Rajasthan, 30 new colleges, naturopathy colleges established in 2 years. UP, more than 20 colleges. Tamil Nadu, the colleges are proliferating, but number of hospitals are. It's a major challenge for naturopathy doctors. We are stepping very close to engineering, the collapse of engineering college system. Maybe around 10 to 15 years ago, everyone was getting into engineering colleges. See, now 80% of engineering colleges are shut out because there is no opportunity. They converted into marriage halls, cinema, movie halls, or malls. And we are going to witness the same tragedy because the hospitals are not increasing in number, but number of students, number of colleges are keep proliferating, which is a tragedy. We are going to witness a tragedy. So the solution, all naturopathy doctors has to set up their own clinics. We should be able to practice, or at least I will tell you, there is a huge turnover can be generated from food industry. Naturopathy doctors can set up juice center, healthy juice center, healthy salad center. The income will be far, far better than being in a hospital. For instance, I will tell you, might be the naturopathy, the revenue of all over the India, the naturopathy turnover, if you put together, it could not be more than 250 crore per year. The entire India, if you take the revenue of all naturopathy hospitals and naturopathy doctors, maximum 250 crore per year. Not down this point, okay. But food industry in India is worth than more than 1 lakh crore rupees. Naturopathy industry is worth of 250 crore. Food industry is worth of 1 lakh crore. So we should be able to exploit that market, nutraceutical and food industry. We can cater healthy type of food, healthy type of juice center. I promise you, even if a naturopathy doctor can set up a healthy juice center, he can generate revenue more than 1 lakh per month. So we should be able to deviate from traditional way of thinking, like getting a job in a naturopathy hospital, because number of hospitals are limited. Keep in mind, very tough to find out jobs. And second option was migrating to spa or ships. So many people prefer to get the job in luxury ships. But today, luxury ships are not operating because of COVID issues, crisis. One more challenge is most of these spas had been shut down. So then where is the option? Even naturopathy hospitals are shut down now. So my kind advice, just try to exploit that huge market, food industry. Because I am beneficiary of entering to food industry, I feel my turnover has been increased by 100 times more in a span of 4 years, 100 times better turnover when I entered to food industry. Yeah.
So what advices would you like to give for students of BMYS during their 5.5 year of study? What tips would you like to give? Like you did not have, like you were very ardent, you were very good studious person. You said that you read all of those things, but you did not get that faith. Would you tell us what steps we could take so that we get more attached to naturopathy in much earlier stage?
The main message I want to give you that first and foremost, don't treat patient obesity cases by fasting. You got my point here. That is something created huge negative impact on naturopathy system. People think it's a fraud system because when a patient comes to get admitted in our hospital, we know only one thing: stopping their food. When we stop food for 10 days, they lose the weight, isn't it? Lost the weight 5 kg. What they are losing is not the fat mass, they lose water from their body. Once the patient go back to their house, they gain back 5 kg weight. Got my point? This is the one experience for every inmates of naturopathy hospital. And naturopathy mean to be a system for losing the weight by not eating the food. This is the most bad reputation we have on today. Naturopathy is an incredible system. Fasting is the best therapy to live longer, to prevent cancer. The fasting is not meant to treat obesity. Fasting is meant to make us to live longer. So we have to stop practicing this, unsuccessful, most unevidenced practice, treating obesity patient by fasting. Fasting is awarded with the Nobel Prize, 2016 Nobel Prize, went to a scientist. He found that fasting induces a process called as autophagy. Autophagy is the best medicine. Autophagy can kill cancer cells. Autophagy can make you younger. It can make you to live longer. So fasting, the benefit of fasting is undermined by the stupid way of treating obese patients in keeping in fasting. You got my point here. This is so naturopathy doctors should go beyond that. You can treat different like PCOD by fasting. You can treat different type of ailments by fasting. Additionally, target gut bacteria. I feel we got remarkable number of patients. The fortune is turned once we started targeting this most unforgotten region called as gut bacteria. Today, it is known to entire world that the gut bacteria mediate autoimmune disorder, gut bacteria mediate autism. The bacteria in gut is responsible for migraine. The most of the universities across the world are focusing more on research on gut bacteria. I feel it's a huge vacuum today. We can bridge that gap by focusing on gut bacteria rather than just treating a patient, putting in hip bath or water or applying mud. And this all are good therapy, but you get better result, better clinical outcome when you incorporate science of gut bacteria. And another one area is adding like low carbohydrate diet. It can give you lots of good result for metabolic syndrome. So if you combine all these therapies like gut bacteria, if you combine science of metabolic syndrome, this all if you combine, you can have a better clinical practice in the future. So my major message is that don't focus on obesity alone by fasting. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your inspiring words, and you shared so many ideas with us. I'm sure when students watch this, they'll be motivated to explore new arenas in our field. Thank you so much, sir, for this discourse. I am very glad that you were able to take time off your busy schedule and be on our platform. And I hope that we get to have more of your sessions on our platform for students.
Okay, so future. Definitely, in fact, I am planning to set up a training center for the doctors of alternative medicine in where I'm located. Probably in another 1 month, 1 year, I might establish a very good education center. So I'm planning to train all naturopathy doctors for 1 month. I'm also working as an adjunct professor at KSND Medical Department, NITE, where I have my colleagues are, they're into biochemistry, like professors from biochemistry, PhD from United States. One of my close friend, Dr. Praveen Shetty, who was a professor in Arizona University. I have one more scientist, Dr. Anu. He has joined to our department just 1 week ago. He was part of a research group who got the Nobel Prize of Autophagy in 2016, Dr. Anoop, and he has got the PhD under same scientist Ozumi, who got the Nobel Prize for autophagy. So he's the part of our group. So I have a close association with the eminent scientists from different university. I have a close friend from Dr. Bimal Karni from Oxford University, and I have one more scientist, Dr. Rajinikanth Vangula. He was the head of the Department of Thrombosis in London. So I can take up the help of all this, and I'm planning to train naturopathy doctors by using the expertise of this eminent scientists across the world in the future. Yeah.
That will be a great opportunity, sir, for sure. We are looking forward to attend all those things. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for being on our platform.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful session. Appreciating your endeavors, and may God bless to do lots of good activities for the general public. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.